Hey you know what you did, right? You're gonna have to take responsibility for it. On the road, I discovered a car that seemed to have stalled and was stopped. To my surprise, there was a woman there who was so beautiful. You might only see someone like her once in 1,000 years. A few days after helping her, some tough-looking guys suddenly showed up at my house. I was surprised and terrified, but they said, "You're gonna have to come with us and take responsibility." And I was taken by the men to a large mansion just like that. Waiting there was, I'm John Smith, 25 years old. I work at a driving school to help people get their driver's licenses. My personal life is quite ordinary, living frugally in an apartment for a single person. If there's anything different about me compared to others, it's probably the fact that my parents have already passed away. That's right, my parents lost their lives in a traffic accident. That day, the three of us in my family had gone out shopping. We were crossing the crosswalk holding hands with me in the middle, when a car that ran a red light came crashing into us. Both of my parents shielded me. They instinctively embraced me with their whole bodies to protect me from getting hit. They were immediately taken to the hospital by ambulance, but both died instantly. I got away with minor injuries. Amidst my grief, one fortunate thing was that the person who caused the accident was conscientious. They reached out to help me, now all alone, and supported me so I could live comfortably until I graduated college. Apparently, the cause of their accident wasn't a driving error, but rather poor maintenance of the car. But they fully admitted fault and paid more than enough in compensation. Thanks to that, even when I was in the care of relatives, I never had to feel self-conscious. But I wanted to become independent quickly. After graduating college, I wanted a qualification that would allow me to make a living on my own. So I took the driving school instructor examination. Since then, I've been working at a local driving school. What I always thoroughly convey to my students: even good people can cause accidents and become perpetrators if they don't check carefully. That's why you absolutely must follow traffic rules. I do my job every day thinking that I want to reduce, even a little, the number of people who have sad experiences with car accidents like my parents. One day off, I spotted a car stopped in an unnatural position near a residential area, wondering if something had happened. Getting concerned is probably an occupational hazard at this point. Oh, there, likely the owner of the car, was a stunningly beautiful woman. I unintentionally stared, captivated by her exceptional beauty. She was looking at the car with a troubled expression. I came to my senses, went into a nearby convenience store to park, and hurried back to the woman. Are you all right?" When I called out to her, the woman raised her head with a start and looked straight at me. "What's wrong?" Excuse me. My car. It suddenly stopped moving." "Did it stall?" "Probably. I just got my license." Looking closer at her car, I noticed it indeed had a new driver sticker. What should I do? It suddenly stopped moving. Yes. In that situation, the best thing is to not try to do anything yourself and call a professional. Saying that, I took out my cell phone. For now, let's call roadside assistance. "Excuse me, but may I ask your name?" "Yes. My name is Catherine Gonzalez." "Ms. Gonzalez, I'm John Smith." We introduced ourselves, and I contacted the roadside assistance service I'm registered with. "I'm sorry. I tried to drive it a few times thinking it might move." "It's better not to do that." "Huh? Trying to move a car that is stalled can lead to accidents. You have to press the brakes and such harder than usual for them to work." "Is that so?" Ms. Gonzalez seemed surprised. They should teach this at driving school too, but surprisingly few people remember the detailed information. Basically, if you think your car has broken down, the best thing is to call roadside assistance without hesitation. It's good to save their number in your phone. As I spoke, I told her the roadside assistance number. "You're knowledgeable about this." "I actually work at a driving school." "I see." Ms. Gonzalez obediently saved the number I told her in her phone. I thought she'd be okay now, but the anxious expression still hadn't left her face. Excusing myself first, I ran to the convenience store from earlier, bought a hot tea, and returned. "Here, some hot tea." "Oh, thank you." "The money. Don't worry about it. First, let's calm down." "Thank you very much." Ms. Gonzalez thanked me and sipped the tea with both hands. I bought the tea without thinking, but felt relieved that she could drink it. I was anxious, so I'm glad you spoke to me. No, we all need help sometimes. In my case, it's occupational, but for a beauty like Ms. Gonzalez, men probably call out to her immediately. I might have just been lucky. Until the roadside assistants arrived, I engaged her in light conversation to ease her mood. Ms. Gonzalez listened to me talk with a happy expression, and before we knew it, the roadside assistants had arrived. Sorry to keep you waiting. This is the car, correct? Yes. I think it stalled. I handled it, and the roadside assistance person got the car working again in no time. As expected of a pro, their work is fast, I thought, impressed. Mr. John Smith. Yes. Thinking it was okay now, I started to leave when she called out to me and I raised my head. Thank you very much. And is there still something you're worried about? No. I want to thank you properly, but I just did what anyone would. I was a bit taken aback by Ms. Gonzalez speaking so strongly, but then broke into a smile. Then please make sure to check thoroughly for maintenance issues and such so you don't have any accidents or dangerous situations in the future. Huh? Not having any more accidents or dangerous things happen is thanks enough for me. I was quite serious about it, but Ms. Gonzalez still seemed to want to say something. I couldn't stay parked at the convenience store forever, so when I said that, she finally seemed to accept it and nodded. To be safe, I guided her to the main road and saw Ms. Gonzalez off as she drove away slowly. She had a cute smile the whole time and bowed her head at the end before leaving. Several weeks after that encounter, I finished work, and while thinking I need to do the laundry that had piled up on my day off tomorrow, I tossed the socks I wore today into the laundry basket. Living alone, it's easy to neglect meals and housework. It's not that I'm having trouble, but I'm aware that like this I won't be able to get a girlfriend. Even if I did, I couldn't freely invite her over to a room like this. The instant she saw it, she'd probably be disillusioned. As I was thinking that, the slightly airheaded doorbell suddenly rang. Coming. I said that as I opened the front door without really checking. And I immediately regretted it. Who? I had thought for sure it was the landlord, but standing there were tough-looking men. At a glance, they seemed like mafia. A man with black hair slicked back wearing a white suit, and a blonde guy with his chest sloppily exposed and a gold necklace. I want praise for not screaming at the sight of the two who looked like they stepped out of an old mafia movie. Hey you John Smith. My name was said without even a greeting, and I could only nod profusely, unable to make a sound. I was baffled, not understanding what was going on. I'm a perfectly upstanding employee at a driving school. I have no memory of ever getting into trouble with the mafia. So John, you know what you did. I was at a loss for words, only able to stand there frozen. Even though I should have no idea what he's talking about, I felt uneasy about what was likely to happen. Without even knowing the identity of the men in front of me, the slick-back hair man continued talking to me as I stood there unable to speak from fear. Well, whatever. John, you're gonna have to take responsibility, okay? Responsibility. Yeah. Now, lock up and come with us. Gotta make sure to lock up properly or thieves'll get in. The two men, intimidating yet showing common sense kindness despite their scary appearance. That unexpectedness helped me regain a bit of my composure. I had just gotten home, so there was no need to particularly check that I had locked up. I just stuffed my wallet, phone, and keys in my pocket and returned to the two men. I was taken to a car parked on the road after leaving my apartment. Is this the guy, John? Yep. Drive safe, you hear. There was another man in the driver's seat, so it seemed the three of them had come to get me. I was nervous about where I was being taken, but the driving was very calm. You don't gotta be so tense. It's not like we're gonna eat you or anything. The slick-back hair man next to me seemed to be looking out for me. I'm Lopez. Sorry for suddenly tacking ya. No. The southern accent guy over there is Parker. The driver is Johnson. Hey, introduce yourselves. Sorry for scaring you earlier. I'm Parker. Nice to meet ya. I'm Johnson. After that, there wasn't any particular conversation, and after driving for a while, the car seemed to arrive at a certain mansion. Going through the impressive gate, the building on the other side was unexpectedly Western style. I unintentionally looked up and almost let out a groan. At a glance it seems like an ordinary mansion, but there are dozens of tough-looking men standing at attention and bowing 90 degrees to greet us. This is probably the residence of the mafia. But surprisingly, while they look scary, they didn't do anything rough at all. When I got in the car from my apartment, they didn't grab my arm or push my back, and even in the car, while their way of talking was a bit harsh, I think they treated me kindly. They were probably being considerate to me, an ordinary guy. I believe we should pay respect to anyone who can show consideration for others, no matter who they are. So even though I still had no idea why I was brought here, I had a rather good impression of Mr. Lopez and the others. And guided by them into the mansion, there was a familiar face in a certain room. Miss Gonzalez, we brought him. Thank you. You're Miss Catherine Gonzalez. I'm glad. You remembered me. When I called Miss Gonzalez's name, she showed me a cute smile. It was so adorable, the kind of smile you could say blossoms like a flower, that my heart fluttered despite the situation. I really wanted to thank you, so I looked for you, Mr. Smith. I'm surprised you were able to find out where I live. I'm sorry. I looked into it on my own. No, I was just impressed you were able to find out with only my name. I went to driving schools in the area and asked I was treated kindly by John Smith. Does he work here? I see. I nodded in understanding while also impressed by her initiative. If Ms. Gonzalez had said she was the one who called, you could have just told me that. Mr. Lopez said from the side. Ms. Gonzalez wanted to see if you'd remember her. This was probably his way of protecting Ms. Gonzalez. For now, have a seat. Prompted by him, I sat at the table facing Ms. Gonzalez. Mr. Parker, who had guided me earlier, brought tea and snacks. Let me introduce myself again. I'm Catherine Gonzalez. I'm John Smith. Thank you for the formality. As you can see, I'm the daughter of mafia. In stark contrast to when we first met, her expression gradually darkened. The way we invited you may have been rough, but we have absolutely no intention of doing anything to you, Mr. Smith. I swear. I truly just wanted to thank you. I chuckled at Ms. Gonzalez, waving both hands as she spoke. It's okay. I'm not worried about that. Huh? Even if you say mafia, the people here treated me very well. Though I've only interacted with Mr. Lopez, Mr. Parker, and Mr. Johnson. Yes. I was shocked when they suddenly showed up at my door. Honestly, it was scary. It's only natural to get scared, with their stern faces, low voices, and sharp eyes that feel like they're glaring at you. But even though we only exchanged words that one time, I can tell you're a very good person, Ms. Gonzalez. Mr. Smith, like I said before, we all need help sometimes. So please don't worry about it. When I said that with a smile, Ms. Gonzalez's eyes widened for a moment before she suddenly burst into tears. Ms. Gonzalez, Mr. Lopez and Mr. Parker raised their voices in worry. What's wrong? Ms. Gonzalez, are you hurting somewhere? No, that's not it. Ms. Gonzalez shook her head and forced a smile. I'm sorry. Because I'm the daughter of mafia. Everyone at school is always scared of me. Ms. Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez smiled while wiping the tears from the corners of her eyes with her fingertips. Seeing her like that made my heart skip a beat again. Normally people would resent the family business of being mafia, or hate friends who get scared just because they're the daughter. But Ms. Gonzalez isn't blaming the people who keep their distance because she's the daughter of mafia. She fully accepts that the existence of mafia is something to be feared. It's just, I haven't been told anything about the family business. It's my father's intention. Saying that, she began talking about her past. This is what I heard from my father. When I was still in my mother's womb, my father, the boss, got caught up in a dispute. The executives of a rival group tried to kill my father. It's a common scene in movies and manga. Rather, dramas often start from scenes like that, but I never imagined it actually happens in the real world. No, I have heard on the TV news about bosses getting injured in mafia disputes, but even those news stories felt like fiction to me. However, Ms. Gonzalez lives in a world where that's reality. To protect my father, the boss, my mother instinctively shielded him. My injured mother was taken to the hospital and had an emergency C-section to give birth to me, but my mother, I felt like I knew how the story ended without hearing the rest. But rather than interrupting halfway and imagining on my own, it might be better to let her get it all out. I waited silently for her to continue. My mother gave birth to me, but then she passed away. She must have experienced a lot of sadness. Her mother lost her life after giving birth to her. Even though it wasn't the cause, the fact that Ms. Gonzalez was born will leave a scar on her heart forever. Ms. Gonzalez let out a small sob, then firmly raised her head. Because of that, my father has always watched over me, for the sake of my mother, who protected him and died. He assigns me bodyguards, and even when he's away, he protects me and cherishes me more than anything. I see. But he never let me get involved with the family business at all. So I've always been raised as an ordinary citizen, not mafia. Yakuza equal evil, violent, quick to use force, is the equation most people would immediately think of. Children especially tend to say what they think. So if they found out someone is related to the mafia, it's inevitable they'd get hurt. Ms. Gonzalez's father, while being the boss who leads the organization, probably raised his daughter the same as ordinary citizens to protect her both physically and mentally as much as possible, as a parent who loves his daughter. But school officials and neighbors would inevitably notice that my family is mafia. The internet is widespread these days, and there are people who enjoy exposing secrets. Yes, that's right. Rumors of me being the daughter of mafia would spread immediately. People were always observing my mood, or just not approaching me in the first place. I was constantly isolated at school. It's a fact that mafia are feared. Even if you're somewhat prepared, being obviously avoided by those around you has nothing to do with being an ordinary citizen or the daughter of mafia. As a fellow human, you'd feel the same loneliness as everyone else. Even if my father doesn't teach me anything, even if I don't know anything, it doesn't change the fact that I'm the daughter of mafia. So you might hate being thanked by the daughter of mafia, Mr. Smith, but, as she spoke, I could feel Ms. Gonzalez's voice trembling slightly. She seems to be afraid of me reacting excessively to the fact that she's the daughter of mafia. Ms. Gonzalez. Yes. I would never think something like that. Whether you're the daughter of mafia or not, you are you. That doesn't matter to me. Mr. Smith, I just helped someone who was in trouble. So you really don't have to worry about thanking me. But I already prepared it, so if you don't mind, I'd be happy if you'd accept it. Ms. Gonzalez said that and guided me to another room. I hesitated but couldn't outright refuse what she had prepared, so I followed. In the room we were led to, there were several chefs in white chef's coats. Actually, I have a restaurant I'm partial to, and I called the chefs from that restaurant to cook for us now. Mr. Smith, do you have any preferences? I'm not picky, but wait. I think I just heard something I can't ignore. Huh? You called the chefs? Can you call restaurant chefs to your house? I raised my voice in surprise at the extravagance of calling restaurant chefs to a private home. Seeing my reaction, both Ms. Gonzalez and Mr. Lopez let out a chuckle. You're an unusual guy, Mr. Smith. In a good way, of course. After that, I enjoyed freshly made dishes served by professional chefs. It was completely different from the typical men's cooking of just stir-frying or boiling that I always eat. The delicious food satisfied both my stomach and heart, making me feel happy. Ms. Gonzalez, I'm truly grateful for today. I thought it wasn't good to overstay my welcome and tried to leave the mansion, but was stopped by Mr. Lopez, Mr. Parker, and Mr. Johnson. Hey you, didn't I say you gotta take responsibility? Is this guidance, Lopez? He's pure. Hey John, you really don't know what you did. No good. He don't get it. Hurry up and notice her feelings. They said those things one after another, and I tilted my head, not understanding the meaning. Ms. Gonzalez called out to me there, so I turned around. Ms. Gonzalez asked, her face bright red. If you don't mind, yes. Would you like to have a meal together again? Of course. I had a lot of fun today. Let's eat delicious food together again. Yes. Next time it'll be my treat. But I can't afford a fancy place like today. When I said that, Ms. Gonzalez nodded with a smile that looked like she might cry again, but happily. Since that day, I started seeing Ms. Gonzalez frequently. She's truly a kind person, listening to my past and crying in sadness for me. I was drawn to that kind Ms. Gonzalez not just for her appearance, but for who she is inside. I know about her family. Even so, I couldn't hold back my feelings and mustered my courage to confess. I want us to be in a serious relationship. Ms. Gonzalez cried again, but she gave me an answer of yes, please, and we started dating. What was tough was after this. I went to greet her family, but Ms. Gonzalez's father is the boss of the mafia. My heart felt like it would explode, but I honestly conveyed my feelings and told him everything I thought. I want to spend my life with your daughter, with Catherine. I don't have parents and I'm not financially well off, but I promise I won't make her unhappy. Please allow me to marry Catherine. It's better not to get involved with the mafia. Huh? It's my last celebration. You said your name is John. Yes. I'm entrusting you with my precious treasure. Don't think about making her happy. Huh? There's no point if you go overboard trying to make her happy and end up unhappy yourself. You two are gonna be happy together. Got it? My father-in-law's words pierced my heart deeply. I replied yes and successfully got permission to marry. And on our wedding day, my father-in-law didn't come to the venue. I knew that would happen, but I could feel Catherine looking a bit lonely next to me. But when I stepped out of the venue, I caught a glimpse of a figure in the distance. When I confirmed who it was, there was my father-in-law, watching us with a happy smile. So he did come. I told Catherine that her father was here, and we bowed together. Holding her hand, I vowed once more that I'd definitely protect Catherine and show that the two of us can be happy.